Hello everyone, this is Simpson from ZeldaDungeon.net, and you're watching my video walkthrough for The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass for Nintendo DS. We just got the Southeastern Sea chart from the Temple of the Ocean King, and now that gives us access to a whole new quadrant where we have the Isle of Frost and Goron Island. You can do those in either order actually, but I'm going to talk about that at the end of the video. That's like the main storyline stuff, so if you just want to do main storyline stuff, skip to the end of the video actually, and I'll go back to that. Until then though, we have a ton of collection stuff. That's basically what most of this video is going to be. So first up, now that we've completed that section of the Temple of the Ocean King, if you go speak with Friedel, then she'll give you a treasure map. Now I'm going to make a little mark on the map of where her cave is that leads to this island, if you haven't unlocked it yet. So just go to that cave, follow this whole path, and then once you get there, you'll see there's a chest off to the right that has a wisdom gem. Talk with Friedel to get the treasure map. So if you did some of the fishing side questy stuff earlier with me in a couple videos back, then we unlocked Joanne, and if you do that, then you get a letter from Jolene to Joanne, and then you can deliver it to Joanne and she gives you a wisdom gem, which is awesome. But apparently she decided that wasn't reward enough, so she's giving us even more stuff. So we get a letter in the mail now, which is from Joanne, which is thanking us yet again, and we get some ship parts, which is awesome. So apparently being a postman pays well, like good tips, you know? If you take the total amount of treasure you get from all your letters in the game, compared to the rest of the treasure you get in the game, I think it's about 15%, so that kind of works out. We're getting, isn't that right? That's about 15% gratuity normally? I think that's how it works. How do you say that anyways? You have postmen, and then you have postwomen? Or is postman gender neutral? You just say it 10 times fast maybe and you can't tell the difference. Postman. It's just nobody can tell. Maybe that's how it works. I will say though, I do get a lot of like spam mail, you know, but other than that I just get packages. I order a lot of stuff on Amazon in particular, so I'm constantly getting packages show up. Some of the UPS people have some dudes, but like all the people on routes like for my area are all women. Like seriously, for the last like 15 or 20 years or something like that, US Postal Service in particular is like all women for my area. And they've changed faces many times, but they're all women still, so I've been calling them my Amazon women, you know? I figure it makes sense. That's what they are. But in lore, you know, Amazons were all women anyway. So you could just say that they're all, you could just shorten that instead of calling them Amazon women. You could just call them Amazons. So that's what I've been calling them. They're my Amazons. I like to think that it's sort of like I have Wonder Woman coming to my door on a regular basis. Does that sound about right? Yeah, I think it's good. Next, swing over to Melita, and along the way I actually got seen by Jolene, but I was really close to the dock, so I just thought, I'll just make a run for it. It'll be great. And so I made it in time, and I was very pleased with myself. Now, there's a little girl on the dock, and before she didn't really have much to tell us, but now that we have gotten the Southeastern Sea chart, she actually has a treasure map for us that also leads to some sunken treasure in the Southeast Quadrant. So this was a surprise to me. I thought that when you left a dock, you instantly, like it reset the area or something, so I just assumed that Jolene would be somewhere else, but apparently not, and I was panicking for a moment. I was like, can I press menu and use the Sheikah Slate fast enough? Or not Sheikah Slate, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Wrong game. But anyway, so this ended up initiating a battle with her. I find that her battle's like a little bit obnoxious. I try to avoid her whenever I can. Like, I do want to encounter her because I make money, but at the same time, like, I only want to do it like once per chapter or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I only want to do it like once every once in a while. I guess this is the first time I've seen her for this video, so whatever. I guess really though, I was expecting to encounter her at least once in the upcoming quadrant, which we're going to explore there for a while, so I just was like, well, I'm gonna see her at least once or twice, but then I'm like, I haven't even left yet and she's already here, showering me with affection. Alright, we are ready to set sail for the Southeast Quadrant. Now, there's just some things you could do with rupees, but we're about to make potentially a lot of rupees, so I wanted to stall until after we have some money. So, set sail for the Southeast Quadrant. As soon as you arrive, though, as you're passing through this, like, rocky area, you'll get ambushed by pirates, actually. These ones are special, though. They're a little bit different than normal, and they'll actually board your boat. Don't worry, though, it is just mini-blends. They're pretty easy to defeat, and they often drop 20 rupees when defeated as well. But once you've taken care of all of them, then go talk with Lineback again, and he'll give you a Courage Gem. Next, head to this kind of like central area of the Southeast Quadrant, and there's actually a golden frog here. Now, I was actually getting attacked by enemies, and so the golden frog, I could not get to it in time. And if that happens to you, then what'll happen is it can just run away. Now, usually what you have to do is you have to just leave and come back, but usually the golden frogs just kind of appear in the same general location. And I was prepared to do that, however, it did just reappear a little bit later in a different location next to me. Now, you'll also notice I have Jolene coming towards me, and I'm nervous about that, and I'm going to make a run for it if she gets too close. There is actually another golden frog here. I'm going to ignore the boats and stuff along the way, but this golden frog is located a little bit to the north, in between that island to the right and the rocks in the middle. So once you reach that one, you want to go ahead and mark that location as well. Next, you want to set sail to the traveler ship, and along the way, I guess I just inched a little bit too close to this thing, but once you get close to the Isle of Frost, it'll force you to break all the ice surrounding the island. Now, I actually couldn't leave. I tried to draw a path away, and it wouldn't let me, so looking back on it, though, I wonder if I could have just used the Cyclone Slate and teleport away, and that probably would have forced it to be okay. I mean, I just got some golden frog locations, so I probably could have done it. But anyways, it zoomed in my map, and I could not leave, so I just ended up being like, and just went ahead and did it anyways. I'm actually going to crop that part of the video out, because I'm going to do that in a later video. I'm not going to the Isle of Frost right now in this playthrough. I'm going to the Goron Temple. So I'll include that clip later, just to explain that portion of it, but yeah, it made me do it right now. Alright, with Isle of Frost excitement out of the way, we're finally ready to continue on towards the traveler ship, and the one in this quadrant belongs to the Ho-Ho tribe. Now, the Ho-Hos will buy a random treasure from you every day, and they'll buy it for somewhere between like 1.5 and 2 times the amount that you can sell stuff to the treasure teller shop in Merkay Island for. So it's always more beneficial to sell stuff here. So if you can, you want to sell everything at the Ho-Hos, kind of. There's 2 ways to look at this. Like, basically what I'd recommend is all of the treasures that are not worth very much, you can sell at the treasure teller shop. So if he wants to buy them for 50 or whatever, then, you know, just go ahead and do it. But everything that he wants to buy for 1,500, you want to hang on to those instead and sell them to the Ho-Hos, because those ones will be worth 3,000 or like 2,800 or whatever. It's not exactly 2 times, it's some weird amount, some weird ratio. I don't know what it is exactly. Feel free to leave comments if you have, on this video, if you know more specifics or whatever, but regardless, the point is you can sell stuff for more value here. Now, one other comment, it is worth maybe hanging on to your really low value things if you have friends you can trade with, because if you can trade your low value treasure and get higher value ones and then sell those to the Ho-Hos, you could make a crazy amount of money. So as I explained a little bit ago, the Ho-Hos want to buy a different treasure on each day. So if you change the day, then they will want to buy a different treasure. Now, you can't just stop by here every day and just see what they want to buy. However, what forces it to happen is actually what the date is on your console. So you can actually technically shut down Phantom Hourglass, change the date on your system, fire up Phantom Hourglass again, and they will be wanting a different treasure. And to my knowledge, it is just totally random which one they're asking for, so you might have to do it several times. But you could unload all of your treasure here, all of it, and you will make a lot of money that way. So this is me doing just that on my console. Now, your console might look a little different. You can do this on the DS, 2DS, the 3DS, or the Wii U Virtual Console. This is actually a new 2DS XL that I'm recording on, so your menu might look a little bit differently. Now, I'm showing that I changed the date, as long as the date is different at all, so you can make it, you know, one day in the past or in the future or whatever, and it's fine, doesn't matter. You can also change the time, and this is really important too, and we're going to do that to force Beetles' masked ship to spawn as well. Once you change the date, it will automatically restart your console, then go ahead and open up Phantom Hourglass. So there's a dude that's sailing out on the ocean, and his name is Beetle, and this dude will sell things to you, and he has different things available in his shop than the shops that are on the islands. So one other interesting thing about him, though, is he actually has different things in his shop at different times of day. So if you go there during the weekdays, in the evenings from 10 p.m. to 12 a.m., or on the weekends in the mornings from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., then you can buy different things from him. So if you go to the mass shop, then you have these different things available. So the easiest way to make this happen is just to change the date and time on your DS. So that's what I did. So this is after I did that. So you can purchase the heart container for 1,500 rupees, which is fairly spendy, but now that we have access to the Ho-Hos and all these ship parts that we've been getting for collecting Sunken Treasure, you can sell a lot of those for a lot of rupees, because a lot of the ones from Sunken Treasure are actually worth quite a bit. Some of those are worth 800 or even 1,500 because they're more rare. But you can buy that and go ahead and buy the Courage Gem, and so once we have those, we can continue onward. I was saving this until this point because I figured now people have access to those 2 things, the Ho-Hos and Sunken Treasure they've been collecting, so you can buy a lot of stuff. Technically, you can buy ship parts here too. This is a good place to do that. And we'll also come back and go to Beetles' regular shop as well. So again, if it's currently Beetles' regular shop, we're going to go ahead and buy the other things. and I'm actually going to change my date repeatedly so I can buy everything from Beetle real quick. So one thing I would encourage you to do, whether you are manually changing the date on your DS or not, or you're just picking up Phantom Hourglass after you've put it down for a little while or whatever, if the date has changed, you want to go see the Ho-Hos first, is my big recommendation. I tend to forget, so I always like try to make myself go there first. That's what I did right now. I was going to go shop with Beetle, but I went to the Ho-Hos first just to sell treasure. And this time they actually were looking for something that I do have. Last time they wanted pink coral, and I didn't have any. And he's mentioning now the market's flooded with coral because now the hot item has changed. So he wants Rudo crowns, and he's willing to buy them for 93. Now I think those are sold, I can sell them for 50, I think. So that's 1.86 times the amount. It's a weird value. That's what I mean. It wasn't quite 1.5, it wasn't 2 times either. It's like a little bit less than that, but similar, whatever. So they're all the things they buy is like that kind of ratio. It's weird. So at this point, I teleported around the sea a little bit trying to find Beetle, and he wasn't anywhere to be found, so I was like, whatever. So I just went to Harrow Island to sell some ship parts. And again, like I've explained this a couple times, I've been collecting just the common treasures, or the common ship parts. Those are the easiest ones to get. So I have a full ancient set, I have most of the tropical set, and I had a couple of the bright set, but I just ended up selling those because I was like, I don't need to make any more than 2 sets. But anyways, that's what I'd recommend, is if, just as far as a pure practical side, as far as the number of hearts you get, any of the sets will do the same. The only exception to that is the golden set. So what I'm doing is I'm selling basically everything except for the 2 most common sets. And then, because I don't need them anyways, it would take me a long time to get all those ship parts, and I don't care. Like, I'd rather have money so I can afford everything. And in this situation, I actually made a lot more money than I was expected. I'm sort of wondering, though, if the ship parts that you get from Sunken Treasure is a guaranteed tier, you know what I mean? Like, some of these are worth 800, some of them are worth 1,500, and I'm not sure. I did notice that the ship parts you get from later quadrants are worth more. So I did notice that, and I don't know if it's always worth the same amount. But anyways, at this point of the game, you should be able to make quite a bit of rupees, and I don't know if you can literally make the same amount of rupees that I'm making. Like, the exact ship part you're selling might be different, but the value of them might be the same. It's sort of my working theory right now. Anyways, comments about this. I did not expect to make that much rupees. I actually made more rupees than I will use for the rest of the entire game combined, which surprised me. I didn't realize that. You can also check out the ship parts that are in Beetle's shop too. That's in particular the mask shop, and see if he has a rare piece. So that might be another way to get the golden set as well. I'm actually not sure. I don't know if I've ever seen them in his shop or not. So if somebody knows in the comments, let me know. So I'm going back to find Beetle. There's a swordfish icon on the map, which is kind of sad. I just caught Naptuna like just a couple videos ago. So that sort of worked out. Now, Jolene was in the way. I debated about going around her, and I was like, I guess. This is what I was talking about. Like, I knew I'd encounter her at least once during this whole video, but I suspected it'd be more than that, and so this definitely progresses some of her whole storyline, but I really don't want to fight her too many times in one sitting. So Beetle's masked shop has different stuff in it than Beetle's regular shop, and so you need to change the date on your DS so you can get both, or play at specific times or whatever. So for me, I actually went to the masked shop earlier, and the reason for that actually is because when I was practicing this game previous weeks to get ready for this walkthrough and research and stuff like that, I had changed the date on my DS. And so what happened was every time that I was playing, Beetle's mask shop was around and his regular shop wasn't. So the same thing happened when I went to go record. Even though now it's a new playthrough and everything, the date was still weird on my DS, on my console time, you know? And that was around the same time that I was playing during my time of day in real life. So what happened was I actually had to, so that's why I went to the mask shop earlier, but now for this recording that you're watching right now, I actually had to change the date back to regular time so that his regular shop would appear, which is kind of funny. It's like, what a weird problem to have, I guess. So anyways, he has the bomb bag upgrade available as well as a wisdom gem. Now that bomb bag, there's 2 upgrades in the game. One of them is purchased here, and the other one is one of the prizes for Salvatore's canon game on Goron Island. So I got that one on a previous video. You can also buy ship parts at his shops. I think that his regular shop only has really low tier ship parts, but then the other one has really high tier ones. And you can also buy treasure from him. There's no reason to buy treasure though, ever. I guess the one comment about that is you could do it, you could scratch your friend's back if you're trading back and forth. If he has stuff in his shop that's cheap for you, you could give it to your friend to make a bunch of money for him. You know what I mean? It's a little more complicated than Pokemon, I guess, but it's an option. Next, if you warp on over to the Omega symbol in the Southeast Quadrant, you can then sail to the far southern island, and that will appear on your map as soon as you get close, and so you can dock with it, and this is called DS Island. Yes, super corny, I know. One comment to make about this thing, though, is the design of the island is the design of the original DS, which had a top screen that was the same width as the bottom screen. And a lot of you playing this game these days are probably doing so on a 3DS or even a 2DS, although there is the possibility that some of you are playing on the Wii U Virtual Console, I guess. But yeah, this island might look a little different compared to what you're used to seeing, but this is totally what your console looked like when you were playing this game originally when it first came out. Anyway, head to the top screen of the island and hop down to find some eye brutes. You need to smack them with arrows in the eye to stun them, and then you can go ahead and smack away at them. So just keep smacking them with arrows. There is a glass acorn in the corner that you can refresh your arrows with. So grab the courage gem in the chest that appears, and then continue on to the left side. There's actually a gossip stone just north of where the D-pad is on the left lower portion of the console, and that gives you a clue about what to do next. So if you look at your lower screen, you will notice that we have the menu button in the bottom left corner. So hop down to the lower screen of the island, and then dig in the bottom left corner, which is where the menu button would be, and you will find a courage gem, which is awesome. I find this very interesting because this is the only gem in the game that you dig up. Like, normally you dig up rupees or maps or something, and usually courage gems you get them from people or you find them in chests and stuff, so this is kind of weird that this is the only one you can dig up in the entire game. Now to the north, though, there is a minigame that is available, but we can't do it yet until after you have completed the Goron Temple. So I will be returning here later to do those mini-games. It's not actually available yet, and we could have come here later and just done all that stuff at once, but the reason that I had to come here early is because, if you've been following along with me, then earlier in this video we got the 10th Wisdom Gem, and just now we got 2 Courage Gems at once, which gives us another 10 Courage Gems. And as we all know, with great courage comes great upgrade possibility. So we will be stopping by Spirit Island later to do that, but there's a couple more things I'm going to do in the Southeast Quadrant in the meantime. So just north of this Bermuda Triangle here in the Southeast Quadrant, there's actually another island that we haven't seen yet. And this is called Harrow Island. And once you arrive, you can actually pay money at the Gossip Stone here, which is kind of weird. It's running a little side business here, but it allows you to dig up random holes here on this island. And it's pretty random. I feel like overall you make money, but not quite. It actually ends up kind of equaling out most of the time. I've done it both ways. I've lost money here, and I've also gained a lot of money. I think it is fairly random. But it seems like it's not necessarily a good investment. However, digging around here, you will find 2 treasure maps. So dig around here for a while, and you might have to do it several times. You might have to do it like 5 or 6 times or something like that. The one thing to know is you definitely don't want to over dig. You can only dig up 10 treasures, by the way. It's not just a number of times you dig, it's a number of times getting something. And it will warn you when you get to the last ones. So just make sure you don't dig any more than 10, but then leave, and you have to actually set sail and then come back in order to make that work. But go ahead and sail around and then come back here and you do it again. And one other comment is if you see Lucky Lee pops up, it's just a random disembodied voice that talks to you and asks if you want to place a bet. And you can do that. I have had some people tell me that it has a very high probability of winning. That wasn't my experience. It feels like it's pretty average as well, so I'm not sure. This whole thing is just a one big betting game. So if you like gambling, then you can hang out here. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend coming here until you have some rupees to actually spend, though. One other quick comment to make about this minigame, there's actually a total of 4 treasure maps that you can get here. However, the other 2 are only available after the next section of the Temple of the Ocean King, and I'm not sure actually if what causes that to happen, if the requirements are the temples being completed, so the Goron Temple and the Temple of Ice, if those need to be completed, or if it's just the fact of having both the sea charts. So if you have the Southeast sea chart and the Northeast sea chart at the same time, and then you come to Harrow Island, I don't know if there's 4 treasure maps available at that point. So you can get these 2 treasure maps now if you want, or you can save them all for later and get all 4 of them at a later point. Either way, next up, we're going to go to Spirit Island and get those 2 upgrades that I was talking about earlier. The Wisdom upgrade in particular is very useful for this next dungeon that we're going to go do.
Good afternoon, passengers. This is your captain speaking. If you look off to the starboard side, you will see we're coming up on top of a swordfish icon here on the map here in a moment. I will point out every time I see one of these majestic animals in the distance. Now, there is always the chance that one of these could be the legendary Neptuna. Now, I fortunately have caught one in a previous video. If you'd like to know more about that, you could refer to our manual, which was a few videos back. There is a high probability whenever you see one of these icons that it is just a rusty swordfish. You can just start fishing, and if it is a swordfish after you've already caught your first one, you can just cancel fishing and wait for the next opportunity when you see one of these icons on your map. I will point out every time I see a swordfish icon on the map, though, just any other interesting things that are happening on the sea, such as running into Jolene! Oh, I actually was debating about going along the right side, but behind Melita Island, so I didn't have to face her at all, but I just kind of thought, like, I just kind of sighed inwardly as I saw her and just figured it was inevitable. And just to be super clear, like, I don't really mind fighting her per se, I just mind fighting her too many times. Like, here's kind of the deal, like, once you get to the point where you're making 200 rupees per time that you're fighting her, then it's just like, nothing progresses storyline-wise. So anytime after that is just for money. And the money's good, but at this point too, I also have more money than I'm ever going to use, so I was kind of like, thinking to myself, like, wait, why am I even fighting her at this point? So there's that. I mean, here's the other side of things, too, is that this is a walkthrough. I'm trying to keep things progressing. I could just skip over it or fast forward through it from now on. I don't know. I do like her dialogue, though, but like, the things she says are really funny. But other than that, like, the rest of it's like, it's the same thing every time. So I might just fast forward through it all, moving forward. Alright, so once you make it to Spirit Island, go ahead and go inside and talk to the pool there and deliver your 10 Courage Gems and 10 Wisdom Gems. This will allow you to upgrade the Spirit of Courage and the Spirit of Wisdom, both of which are actually pretty cool. The Wisdom Gem in particular has gotten my new vote for favorite. I decided to try and test it a lot for this walkthrough to try and see what different things you could use it for, and I was actually surprised at some of the things that it could do. I didn't even realize all the capabilities of it, so I was really impressed with that. So the two spirits are pretty cool. I'll explain what they both do. The Spirit of Wisdom will half damage that is incoming, so you doubles your defense, you take half damage from all attacks. What it also does is it will reduce the amount of time that you lose when phantoms hit you in the Temple of the Ocean King, so that's pretty cool as well. And it doesn't work on Wizrobes, though. That's one exception there. The other thing it does, though, which is pretty cool, is it also makes your shield more powerful. It allows you to bonk into enemies and stun them, and this even works on, like, electrified choo-choos and stuff like that. And you can also use it to block energy beams, such as Beamos. So there's several interesting enemies that normally would hurt you if they touched you that you can bonk into them now and stun them instead. So the Spirit of Courage, on the other hand, allows you to shoot beams out of your sword, which is really cool. I find the easiest way to do this is to do stabbing motions, and how you do that is kind of like just a forward line away from Link. So you just draw lines away from him and he'll stab forward, and that's the easiest way to aim in the direction that you want. Now, one thing about them, though, is that the beams can only go out every so often. They have like a slight cooldown, so you have to... It's not like every beam, it's almost like every other slash, if you're stabbing as fast as you can, will fire a beam. Now, the damage it does is about half what a regular sword attack typically. Some enemies are weak enough they die with one hit, but most of them take two. So you do have to, like, stab... I mean, you could have stabbed him 4 times if you were in melee range. So, like, yes, it's ranged, but other than that, there's not really a super good benefit to it. Also, just generally speaking, anything that the Spirit of Courage can do, the bow can do better, because it does more damage, it shoots faster, and it's more reliable, it's more accurate. Like, so if you're going through the trouble of collecting stuff, as you got the quivers upgrades, then there's not really much of a reason to have the Spirit of Courage, I guess. Which I find kind of sad. It's really cool, but it's just not as effective. So I find that really sad, and it kind of becomes obsolete pretty quickly. I feel like there's specific situations where the Spirit of Courage is pretty cool, so I'll try to point those out as I come across them throughout the game, but something interesting to point out about the mechanics of how the Spirit of Courage works is that I believe it works this way in Phantom Hourglass too, but I know that in Spirit Tracks that if you're in melee range, which means close range, that you can actually hit enemies with your sword and the beam blade at the same time, which is very interesting because it increases your damage overall. Now the beam blade itself only does half the damage of a regular sword attack, so it takes 2 beam blades to equal the damage of 1 sword attack, but it also only works with side slashes and stabs. Jump attacks and spin attacks do not create beams, however those do double damage in general, so that's a different thing. Also, if you're slashing as fast as you can back and forth, whatever, the beam only shoots out every other attack, and what that means is
if you are in melee range, you could potentially do 125% damage, which is kind of neat. However, that's still nowhere near as awesome as the Spirit of Power, because that doubles your damage instead. So, if you are in melee range, the Spirit of Power is just better. Like 200% damage versus 125% damage, gee, I don't know which one I want to use. And that one also applies to your jump attacks and spin attacks too, so it's just like, I don't know, I think that's all very interesting, and you could technically increase your close range damage with the Spirit of Courage, but unless you're specifically fighting at range, the Spirit of Power is just better for close combat. So at this point, I'm just running around collecting all of these Sunken Treasure. There's not really much to say about it. A couple comments I will make is that I did see several swordfish icons in passing. I also got a couple treasure. I didn't realize this at the time, but there is regular pirate ships, and then there's also big pirate ships. And I can't remember what they're called. They're bigger ones, though. But they have more health, and they last longer. They typically get right up next to you, and they just keep firing away. But you got to be careful to like hit their cannon shots so that they don't smack you. But anyway, those guys will actually drop treasure that land in the ocean, and they have a high probability of being really high-end ship parts, so it is definitely worth getting the treasure that they drop. So if you find yourself encountering big ships, then you want to destroy them because they'll drop really good treasure. So you do have to use your salvage arm. So there was a couple times when I was running around here for this segment of the videos that I killed some pirates, then I continued going towards this sunken treasure, and then I looked back and I was like, wait, what? Where did that icon come from? I don't remember there being a symbol there. And then I was all confused looking at my map from all the... I have a map, or a screenshot that shows where all the treasure map locations are, and I was like, that's not even on the map. I don't understand. What's going on? And that was why. I didn't realize that at the time. But the pirate ships, the big ones, leave treasure behind that you can use your salvage arm to collect. And of course, no treasure hunting is complete without more Jolene encounters. Alright, it's time to continue on with the main quest, and so now at this point we can actually go to a variety of different areas. At this point the game actually splits, and you can do any of the remaining dungeons in any order. You can also go fairly deep in the Temple of the Ocean King, so if you did that, you actually could have gotten the Northeast Sea chart as well, which allows you to go to the Northeast Quadrant. So I did not do that just because I think most people did not, but that is a potential option as well. But anyways, the last 3 dungeons of the game are all available right now. So if you have the Northeast Sea chart, you can go to the Northeast Quadrant and go to the Isle of the Dead. Otherwise, you can go to the Isle of Frost in the top right, or you can go to Goron Island in the bottom left of the Southeast Quadrant, which is where I'm at right now. Now, I think that most people, because they probably went to the... I mean, you have to go to the Southeast Quadrant first anyways, and Goron Island is the first island that you see, so that was probably where a lot of players are headed next, because it was the one they encountered first. But you can do them in either order. So once you get close to Goron Island, this will initiate a battle with a new enemy, and get this, it is called Massive Eye. But I will try to keep the sarcasm out of my voice because I'm professional. So, once you encounter Massive Eye, then it will... Sorry, I couldn't help it. Once you encounter Massive Eye, then it will have these eyeballs on the sides of its head, and you want to keep firing at them with your cannon, and occasionally it will charge through you, and there's not actually anything you can do to avoid this, but otherwise it will release these electric ball attacks, and you want to attack those, and will also release eyeball monsters. So defeat the eyeball monsters, and either one of those options will drop hearts, and there is some unavoidable damage that this boss deals, particularly when it charges through you, but if you're not paying attention to the projectiles, then you will take damage from those as well, because they do attack pretty quickly, so you need to switch targets and attack those instead. Yeah, but pretty much, because you're getting hearts all the time, you probably will not die to this guy, unless you're just like really not paying attention, I guess. But as long as you keep hitting projectiles, you will stay topped off with your health, and it should be fine. This guy's pretty easy. Unfortunately, he will kind of turn to one side, and you can't actually see him. So like, you could completely defeat all the eyes on one side, and then he's just facing you with that side for a while, and he'll alternate to the other side eventually. Just kind of keep waiting around, keep poking at him, and eventually you'll defeat him. Alright, welcome to Goron Island. Now, our goal here is to actually talk with all of the Gorons on the island, and I'm going to just fast forward through most of these because there's not really anything super interesting a lot of them say. Like, a lot of them are just like, hey, nice to meet you, and that's about it. But there is some that have some relevant information that's actually for our quest, so I'm going to just slow down for that. But the rest of them, I think I'll just fast forward through because there's not really anything super interesting going on here. One of the Gorons comments that their shop has shields for sale, so if your shield gets eaten, you can purchase it again there. This is an indication that we will be facing like-likes in the upcoming areas. In one of these cave dwellings, there is a Goron that gives you a clue about how to proceed. In order to get to the other side of the island, which we can't reach right now, you want to stand next to the shore and then yell into your microphone to shout at the Goron across the way to get his attention. So we'll do that here in a little bit. You want to continue on to the left, and there's a Goron here who says that he's freaked out by all of the monsters on the upper ledge. Now, you want to go ahead and defeat them, and to do so, you want to use the soft soil location nearby with your shovel, then get up there and shoot them with arrows. Once you defeat them, he will give you a treasure map in reward. So the sign here actually gives you the same clue that the Goron inside the house gave us earlier. You need to yell into your microphone to get the attention of the Goron across the way. And you don't have to actually yell into your microphone, you can technically just blow into it instead. And once you have successfully done this, then he will step onto the switch that creates a bridge so that you can get across. But be sure you talk to him though, because you calling out to him like that does not count towards you meeting him, so talk to him before you leave. I find this part kind of amusing. Once you've spoken with all of the Gorons, then Cielos like, alright, now we can finally go talk to the Elder now that we've spoken with all of them, which is true. If you spoke with the Elder, he's like, hey, go talk with all the Gorons. But if you don't talk to the Elder yet, she still says the same thing, so it's kind of funny because she's like saying stuff out of context, so to speak. Anyway, once you have spoken with all the Gorons, then make your way over to the Elder, and there is actually some soft soil outside that you can dig up that has 20 rupees. It's not really that much, but go ahead and grab that and then head inside. So as you enter, you'll find the Goron Elder's son doesn't like you very much, Goran, and we'll deal with him in a little bit. You want to speak with the Elder, and it turns out that he's willing to work with you. However, first you have to prove that you can be part of the Goron tribe, and this obviously means that you have to take a quiz, because that's the only thing that makes sense. If you spoke with the Gorons thus far, you would have learned that the Elder loves quizzes. So, we're going to take his quiz, and he's going to ask you various questions about the Gorons on the island, both what they're doing and what they're thinking about, and where they're standing, where they live, etc. It's all kind of a bunch of weird information. Does seem kind of weird to me, though. He's like, hey, you can only be part of our tribe if you stalk everybody. Like, what? Apparently, that's the critical, like, criteria that you want for a citizen in your tribe. I don't understand. Anyway, you can figure this out just through process elimination, and then you just go through the quiz several times and you'll figure it out. It's fine. It means you're just guessing anyways, but then you just write them down or whatever. And I guess what they're expecting you to do is, like, you get an answer wrong and you go out and figure out the information and then write it on your map, I'm assuming, because you can see your map at the same time. So I think that's what they're going for here. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and just post all the questions and answers on screen, so you can just look at that. So once you've successfully answered all the questions, then the Goron Elder will gift you with a Wisdom Gem, which is awesome. He will then also say that now that you are officially part of the Goron tribe, he's also going to charge you for the privilege of taking the quiz, I suppose. But before you panic, though, because it seems like quite a bit of money, it's actually the exact same amount of money that you won in his little game. So your net gain, when all is said and done is actually just 0. So What was the point in all that anyways? It was just for hype, I suppose. Maybe he's just really bad at capitalism. So the Goron Elder will then tell you that the location of the pure metal that you're looking for is actually inside the Goron Temple. Like, no joke. All of the pure metals have been in temples so far. So he tells you need to go onward to get to it, and he'll give you access to go through. However, he says that in order to enter, you're going to need an escort. So he tells his son to go with you. However, Goran does not trust you and is insistent on putting you through more trials. So he is insisting on a game of hide and seek, because what else makes sense? This hide-and-seek thing is not anywhere near as elaborate as you would think it was. I'm not really sure why they even included this. Continue over to the far left, and Goran is on top of one of these upper platforms. As soon as you get close, he'll call out to you and then tell you need to go find him again. However, that isn't actually true. He just continues on to the next area, which is where we need to go anyways. So head over to the far right, and the Goran who was blocking the path will now finally let you through. So go through there and go head straight north. So Goran is apparently just missing. Apparently he can phase through walls or something. You want to go ahead and use the bomb flower nearby to blow up these cracked walls. And you can actually set down the bomb flower and blow them up early by smacking them with your sword. If you use like a stabbing attack at a distance, you can actually smack them without taking damage if you're far enough away. But go ahead and blow those up. The optional path to the left will lead to some goodies. Now the bottom left leads to a glass acorn where you can stock up on regular bombs. But there are several enemies in here that would be beneficial to use bombs or bomb flowers on. The blue choo-choos in particular can electrocute you if you attack them at the wrong time. So regular bombs will take care of them, or arrows or whatever. And you can also stun them with your boomerang. But another way to deal with them, which is kind of fun now that we have the courage gems and wisdom gems, is you can use either of those. So stabbing them from a distance with the courage range, or you can use the spirit of wisdom to bunk into them with your shield and stun them. And that works really good. The far bottom left area leads to a glass acorn that has bombs in it. So you can actually stock up there, and you can actually go back and forth the screen to force it to respawn early, and you can stock up on bombs completely. And if you have some bomb bags, it's like really effective. Now the top left area leads to a floor switch that lowers some spikes, and this gives us access to a gem here in a little bit. Continue over to the far right, and there is actually another cracked wall that we can blow up, and this leads to another bomb flower just so you don't have as far of a distance to run. And like I was saying, like, bombs work on all of the enemies in this area really well, so if you want to use the bomb flowers for that, you can, bare minimum. It's kind of weird that they have this whole, like, bomb flower thing. I guess I'm not really sure what the point was of that. I am showing how to use it just because it is, like, the harder requirement, I guess, or like, I'm just showing that you have more than enough time to make it with those bomb flowers to each one of these areas. If you continue off to the far left, you'll find a chest here that contains 100 rupees. This is optional, you don't have to get this. We also notice it's a dead end, so in order to continue, what you need to do is go back to this previous area, and you'll notice there's these floor tiles up to the north that are a little bit discolored. This is an indication that there is a wall here that you can blow up. And that bomb flower can totally reach that wall if you need to use that instead of regular bombs. But continue on to the left, and then before you continue onward, go down and then to the right. This leads to an area where there were some spikes blocking the path. You have to use that floor switch off to the right, which we did earlier. But then go ahead and open the chest to get a power gem. Yeah! Continue on to the left, and there is a new enemy called a like. We haven't seen these yet in this game, but these suckers will eat your shield. So what you want to do is attack them from range, ideally. So use either the Spirit of Courage, or bombs, or arrows, whatever. And this opens up the path to the temple. So before you enter the temple, be sure to step on the nearby floor switch, which creates a shortcut back to the beginning of Goron Island. So that's the end of this video, folks. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed this, be sure to like the video and follow both Zelda Dungeon and myself for more content that is similar to what you just watched. And if you can follow us on the various socials, there'll be links to all that stuff in the description. And as always, you guys have an amazing day, stay awesome, and I will see you next time.